The call came on a Tuesday morning in Afghanistan. I was cleaning my rifle after a patrol when Sergeant Rodriguez handed me the satellite phone with a grim expression. "Your father's passed, Thompson," he said quietly. "I'm sorry for your loss. Dad had been sick for months, cancer that he'd hidden from me until it was too late. He didn't want me distracted during my deployment," he'd said in his final letter. "Always putting others first, even when he was dying." I flew home for a 3-day emergency leave, just long enough for the funeral. Dad looked peaceful in his casket, finally free from the pain that had consumed his last year. The service was small, just me, my stepmother Linda, and her 2 adult sons, Marcus and Jake. Linda had married Dad 5 years earlier, after my mother died. I was already in the military by then, so I barely knew her or her boys. They seemed nice enough at the wedding, but I was shipping out again 2 weeks later. At the funeral, Linda was the picture of grief, dabbing her eyes with tissues, accepting condolences, playing the devoted widow perfectly. Marcus and Jake flanked her like bodyguards, whispering comfort and shooting me occasional sympathetic glances. "I'm so sorry about Dad," I told Linda after the service. "I know you two were really happy together." She squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "He loved you so much, Marcus. He was so proud of his soldier boy. My name is David, not Marcus, but grief makes people confused sometimes." I let slide. "I have to go back overseas tomorrow," I said. "But when my deployment ends in 8 months, we should sit down and figure out Dad's affairs. The house, his accounts, everything." "Of course, dear," Linda said, still crying. "Don't worry about any of that now. Just focus on staying safe over there. We'll take care of everything here." Marcus nodded seriously. "Yeah, man, we got it handled. You just worry about coming home in one piece." I felt grateful to have family looking out for things while I was gone. Dad had always been careful about money, and I knew he'd left everything organized. 8 months later, my deployment ended. I was excited to come home, to finally grieve properly, and to start figuring out what came next. Maybe I'd stay in Dad's house for a while, sort through his belongings, decide whether to make the military a career or try civilian life. I called Linda from Germany before my flight home. "Hey, it's David. I'll be landing at Dallas tomorrow afternoon. Could you pick me up?" There was a long pause. "David? Oh, right. Marcus, you mean?" Again with the wrong name. "No, Linda. David. Your stepson. I'm coming home from Afghanistan." Another pause. "Oh, well, that's not really convenient right now. Can you take a cab?" Something cold settled in my stomach. "A cab? Linda, it's me. I just spent 8 months in a war zone." I thought, "Look, things have changed since your father died. We're not family anymore, you know? It was nice when your dad was alive, but now." She trailed off. I stared at the phone, not believing what I was hearing. "What do you mean, we're not family?" "I mean exactly that. I have my own sons to worry about. You're a grown man with your own life. I can't be responsible for you anymore." The line went dead. I sat in the airport terminal for 20 minutes, just staring at my phone. Then I called a cab and gave the driver Dad's address. My childhood home, where I'd planned to stay while figuring out my next steps. The cab pulled up to an empty lot. "You sure this is the right address, buddy?" the driver asked, checking his GPS. I got out slowly, my duffel bag heavy on my shoulder. The house was gone, completely gone. Just bare dirt and a sold sign from some real estate company. My legs went weak. I sat down hard on the curb, staring at the empty space where my childhood home used to be. The oak tree Dad and I planted when I was 8 gone. The front porch where he taught me to play guitar gone. Every physical memory of my life before the military erased. I called Linda again. This time Marcus answered. "Oh, hey, it's the soldier boy," he said with a chuckle. "What's up?" "Marcus, what happened to Dad's house?" "We sold it, obviously. Mom needed the money." "You sold it?" "Without telling me." "Dude, you were in Afghanistan. What were we supposed to do? Send you a telegram?" He laughed at his own joke. "Besides, it's not like you were contributing to the mortgage or anything." My hands were shaking. That was my father's house, my childhood home, and now it's money in the bank. 50 grand, actually. Not bad for an old place that needed so much work. $50,000. Dad's house, where I'd lived for 18 years, sold for $50,000. Where are Dad's belongings? His photos, his personal things? Goodwill mostly. Some stuff we kept, some we threw away. Mom didn't want a bunch of old junk cluttering up her new place. Her new place? Yeah, she bought a condo across town. Fresh start, you know? No room for extra stuff. I close my eyes, try to process this. Marcus, I need to see you guys. We need to talk about Dad's will, his other assets. What other assets? Marcus laughed again. The house was it, man. That and his old truck, which Jake's driving now. Your dad wasn't exactly rich. That was impossible. Dad had been a careful saver his entire life. He owned his house outright, had a good pension from the railroad, always talked about having something to leave me. I'm coming over, I said. No, you're not. Mom doesn't want you here. Look, nothing personal, but you're not really family anymore. Dad's gone, so the connection is gone too. You understand, right? I understood perfectly. While I was dodging IEDs and watching friends die in Afghanistan, my stepfamily had erased every trace of my father's life and pocketed the proceeds. I took a cab to a motel and spent the night staring at the ceiling. The next morning, I went to Dad's bank. I'm sorry for your loss, the banker said when I explained the situation. But I can't give you any information about your father's accounts without proper documentation. Do you have a copy of the will? I didn't. Linda had never mentioned a will reading, never invited me to any meetings with lawyers. However, the banker continued, I can tell you that all accounts associated with your father's name were closed about 6 months ago. The funds were transferred to accounts belonging to. She checked her computer, Linda Thompson. 6 months ago, 2 months after Dad died, while I was still grieving and serving my country. I spent the next 3 days trying to get information. Dad's lawyer had died the year before. The new firm handling his files said they had no record of any will. Linda wasn't returning my calls. Marcus and Jake had blocked my number. That's when I remembered the folder. Dad had given it to me during my last leave, just before he got really sick. I'd been so focused on spending time with him that I'd barely glanced at it. Put this somewhere safe, he'd said, pressing the manila folder into my hands. Don't lose it, son. Promise me. What is it? Insurance, he'd said with a tired smile. Just promise me you'll keep it safe. I'd stuck it in my duffel bag and forgotten about it during the chaos of deployment. Now, sitting in my motel room with nothing but the clothes on my back and a growing rage in my chest, I pulled out the folder. Inside were photocopies of documents. Bank statements showing Dad had multiple accounts Linda didn't know about. Investment portfolios worth over $300,000. Life insurance policies with me as the sole beneficiary. And at the bottom, a handwritten note in Dad's careful script. David, I know Linda and her boys don't really accept you, but I hope they do right by you when I'm gone. If you're reading this, they probably didn't. The originals of these documents are in a safety deposit box at First National, box number 447. The key is taped under the workbench in my garage. I love you, son. You're the best thing I ever did with my life. Dad, I sat there for a long moment, holding Dad's final gift to me. Then I smiled for the first time since coming home. The garage had been demolished with the house, but I found the key in the rubble after an hour of searching. The safety deposit box contained everything. The original documents proving Dad's true net worth, plus one more surprise. A new will, dated just 2 weeks before he died, leaving everything to me with specific instructions that Linda received nothing. I called Linda. What do you want? She snapped when she heard my voice. I thought we made it clear. We need to meet, I said calmly. All of us. You, Marcus, Jake, and me. We don't need to do anything. You're not family. I think you want to hear what I have to say. It's about Dad's estate. She laughed, actually laughed. What estate? There was no estate. Just the house, and that's gone. Meet me at the Denny's on Highway 6 in 1 hour. Bring Marcus and Jake. I'm not meeting you anywhere. We don't owe you. Linda, I said, my voice still calm, but with an edge now, you've committed multiple felonies. Fraud, theft, forgery. You can meet me at Denny's, or you can explain to the FBI why you stole a veteran's inheritance while he was serving overseas. Your choice. The line went quiet for a long moment. 1 hour, she whispered. They were already there when I arrived, huddled in a corner booth like conspirators. Linda looked pale. Marcus and Jake kept glancing toward the door like they were planning to run. I sat down across from them and pulled out the folder. "Let's start with this," I said, sliding a bank statement across the table. "Dad's checking account, the one you cleaned out 6 months ago. Notice the balance on the day he died, $47,000. Linda's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." I laid out another document. His savings account, $89,000. Also emptied. Another paper. His investment account with Fidelity, $156,000. Another. His retirement account, $98,000. And another. His life insurance policy, $250,000, with me as sole beneficiary. Marcus was staring at the papers like they might catch fire. Jake had gone completely silent. "You see," I continued conversationally, "Dad wasn't just careful with money. He was smart about it. He knew you three were just waiting for him to die so you could grab whatever you could. So he made sure you couldn't." I pulled out the will and placed it on the table. "This is Dad's real will, dated 2 weeks before he died. It leaves everything to me. Every account, every asset, every penny. It also explicitly states that Linda receives nothing, and I quote, due to her obvious gold-digging intentions and her son's obvious disrespect for my son David." Linda made a choking sound. "Now," I said, leaning back in my seat, "let's talk about the house. The one you sold for $50,000 without my knowledge or consent. The one that, according to this will, belonged to me the moment Dad died." "We didn't know," Marcus whispered. "We thought. You thought I was just some dumb soldier who'd never figure it out," I finished. "You thought you could steal my inheritance while I was serving my country, and I'd never be smart enough to catch you." I smiled then, the same smile I'd given enemy combatants right before calling in airstrikes on their positions. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return every penny you stole. The house sale money, the bank accounts, the investments, all of it, plus interest. You're going to do it within 30 days. "We don't have it," Linda said desperately. "The money's spent. The house sale barely covered my debts and the other money." "Then you'd better find it," I said simply. "Because if you don't, I'm going to the FBI with evidence of wire fraud, identity theft, and theft of military benefits. Federal crimes, Linda. You'll be lucky to get 10 years in prison." I stood up and gathered my documents. "Oh, and one more thing. Dad left detailed instructions for his funeral wishes. He wanted to be buried next to Mom in Pine Valley Cemetery. But you cremated him instead and kept the ashes, didn't you?" Linda nodded miserably. "Where are they?" On my mantle. You have 24 hours to deliver Dad's ashes to Pine Valley Cemetery for proper burial. After that, desecration of human remains gets added to your charges." I left them sitting there in shocked silence, all three of them staring at the evidence of their crimes spread across the table. Within 2 weeks, Linda had sold her condo and liquidated every asset she had. Marcus and Jake cleaned out their own bank accounts. They managed to return $180,000 of the $640,000 they'd stolen. Not even close to everything, but enough to avoid federal prison when I agreed to a plea deal that included 5 years probation and community service. Dad's ashes were buried with Mom on a beautiful spring morning. I was the only one at the graveside service, which was exactly how Dad would have wanted it. With the recovered money and Dad's life insurance, I bought a small farm outside town, something I'd always dreamed of but never thought I could afford. I left the military and started a security consulting business, using skills learned in Afghanistan to help protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Sometimes I drive past the empty lot where Dad's house used to be. The new owners built a mansion there. Apparently $50,000 was quite a bargain for such a prime piece of real estate. Linda and her boys learned the hard way that blood isn't always thicker than greed, but sometimes justice is thicker than both. They thought they were stealing from just a soldier who'd never fight back. They were wrong about everything except one thing. I am just a soldier. But soldiers don't give up, we don't back down, and we never leave a fallen comrade behind. Dad was my comrade, and his final mission was making sure I got what he'd worked his whole life to give me. Mission accomplished, Dad. Mission accomplished.